Welcome to Exploring Santa Cruz, a bi-weekly program on KSQD 89.5, 89.7, and 90.7 FM. I'm your host, Matilda Rand. My guest is Martha Nitzberg from the Natural Bridges State Beach. Natural Bridges State Beach is a 65-acre California state park in Santa Cruz. The park features a natural bridge across a section of the beach. It's also well known as a hotspot to see monarch butterfly migrations. Martha Nitzberg is an interpreter at the state park. She has worked with the state park, Fish and Wildlife, and other local and statewide agencies. She loves to connect people of all ages to the park. Welcome, Martha.
Thank you so much.
Last time you were on my show, we were talking about the monarch celebration. Now you're preparing for yet another festival, and it sounds very exciting. So tell us about the Migration Festival.
Yeah, the Migration Festival has been happening in Santa Cruz since 1987. And it is a really lovely event because we have about 25 organizations already that have said that they want to join us. And I'm still waiting to hear from a couple more that might be joining us as well. So that's a very large number of people that have made the time and commitment to be able to come out to the state park and to share their love of different kinds of animals that migrate, that come to and through this area.
Through this area, but you say throughout the Monterey Bay as well?
Yes. It could be turtles, whales, birds, elephants, seals, well, ocean birds as well as land birds.
And it's also a goodbye to the monarch.
Yes.
Because when are they leaving?
That is the million-dollar question. We don't really know. And so what we're really excited about is so far through January, it's been really nice. The butterflies are here. It's really worth coming. And there's lots of them. Our hope is that there'll be still some that are here for the goodbye party.
Perfect. And you said there are a lot of organizations. You have at least 25 already and more maybe coming. What can they expect when they come? I see something about passports. What is it? Are we going to travel somewhere?
Yeah. So we have a little passport, and if you have children that are interested in coming, then we have this passport that they can get a stamp on and get some questions answered and hands-on activities at each of the different tables. So they'll have things that you can touch, things that you can learn about. Sometimes they'll have games or coloring things or craft things at each of the different tables. So lots of different activities for the young kids. But if you come to a table and you're interested in asking about some of the other animals, and you talk to the folks that are involved in whale issues or climate change issues or dark sky and bird kitting windows and that kind of issues, they will talk to you as an adult and give you lots of really good information and thoughts, as well as the other ones that you might be interested in too.
And there are some games?
Yeah, we'll have some active kid games about migration, and adults are welcome to join in on that too, as long as you act as a kid and you have a good sense of fun. And we have lots of crafts going on as well.
Oh, wonderful. In the past, you had face painting, and now you don't do that anymore?
Yeah, we used to do face painting, but we realized with COVID, when we had the shutdown and we started up again, that we were starting to paint on kids' hands. And we found that they really liked that a lot better because the families could enjoy it on the kids' faces, but really when it's on the hand, the child can enjoy it also. So we started to do that. But you don't have to be a kid to have your hand painted.
Okay, I'll remember that one. And so what can people get painted on their animals or...
It depends on who is the person that's doing the painting. It might be monarch butterflies, depending on certain people, but other people can do more variety of animals. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the past, you also had some skits and songs. Are you preparing anything this day?
Oh, yeah. So we'll have a skit, and we're still working on that. And so it's sort of a mystery of how it will turn out.
Okay.
But we've got a crew of people that are working on that and are excited about it. So that's always fun. We'll probably see the superheroes, the monarchs, in that skit. And who knows who else. And then as far as music, we have Meridy's coming all the way from Mariposa to sing her monarch songs, and we have Robert and others that are with the wave tones that will be singing and sharing their songs, more and more of which are about. One of my favorites of his is in the Monterey Bay with the animals migrating and everything. So he's got a really nice song about that, and many others that are really lovely. And then we have Bob Gomez, who is a docent at the Castro. He's also the Watsonville Poet Laureate. Oh. And so he made up a song about monarchs. So he's going going to be joining us also. And then we have the 5M's Band. That's the Mostly Mediocre Musical Monarch Mariposas. And we've been making up songs for many, many years about monarchs, about migrating animals, and things that are relevant. So it's natural history through song.
That's wonderful. You said you're not ready yet for the skit because the festival is coming up in February.
Right. It's the 10th of February. It's the second Saturday in February always. And this year it's on the 10th. And so we've got a crew of people working on it. And so I think they know what's going on, but I'm sort of a little bit out of the loop on exactly how it's all going to go together. But it's all about the migrating animals. And like I say, it's still a little bit of a mystery who's going to be in it. For me, yeah. And for everybody else, except for that crew. Yeah.
Except for that crew. And so where would people go if they want to participate in the festival?
The festival is located all around the outside of the Visitor Center at Natural Bridges. You just come to the park, and we'll be all around the outside of that with all these different tables and canopies, and you can't miss us.
Okay, all right. So you said you've done it for several years now. What are some of the learning experiences from previous festivals?
Well, one of the years, we thought it was a great idea. This was quite a long time ago when I was first there. And we sort of brainstormed about migration, people migrating. Oh, that sounds interesting. Well, what about people migrating between parks? And so we said, okay, we're going to have 4 different locations, a few groups other than us at Henry Cowell, at Seacliff, at New Brighton, at Natural Bridges, and we will have people go between all of these. And if everybody goes to all 4 of them, there's like a special prize for being able to come back to any of these parks for free or something like that. So anyway, we had these great plans. And then we realized on the day of that the parents, if you have little kids, you don't want to pack up your kids 4 times going from park to park to park to park. And that was just like not a good idea. So I think it was only the high school students and the college students that actually made it to all the 4 of them, looking at getting a new parking pass and being able to come back to a park for free. They were the ones with the stamina.
And I guess in each park, there were fewer people than if you had it in one location.
Right. So the other organizations that were there that year, they said, oh, no, please don't do this again. It was really sad. We only had a few of us together at the park, and it's so much more energy and so much more fun when we're all together in these different organizations and everybody can really enjoy us together. After that, we started to do it just at Natural Bridges, and it's been really successful.
Now, I mentioned that I love games and all that. My question then is, who gives you the most responses? Is it the kids? Is it the adults? Who likes it best?
You know, in Santa Cruz, it's both.
Okay.
I think that the adults in Santa Cruz that are coming to Santa Cruz or coming to a festival like this, they have a good sense of fun. Okay. I think that they are up for learning some new things. They're interested. They want to know more about nature. So I think that the adults have a really good experience because any of these organizations, Marine Mammal Center, the Web of Life Field School with their live newts, Henry Cowell with their live ladybugs, Año Nuevo with all the bones and pieces and fur and everything from elephant seals and their discussion about what they do. Pretty amazing, all these animals that migrate through here. As far as the kids go, I think they really enjoy doing the passport and going from the different booths. And then we've got the coloring and the creating and the crafts and the other things like that. And games, of course.
There's something for everyone.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
We try to make it that way.
Yeah, okay, because that's important that we share it with the community.
Absolutely.
I assume you get some elderly people as well.
Oh, yeah. We had some people that were listening in the fall when we had our Welcome Back Monarchs Day, the start of the butterfly season, and they were sitting down and listening to the songs and listening to the music and all the different words and stuff. And I could see that they were really enjoying themselves. So it doesn't mean that you have to be sitting down if you're older. I mean, you can be walking around between all the different organizations too. And we'll have most of it on the pavement, so it'll be actually accessible.
That's good. So we don't have to go through the sand to go from one, because there's a lot of sand.
Yeah. And you know, on these low tide days of the last few days, it's been a lot of sand. It's like the tide was so far out. It was just crazy out this week. It was very amazing.
I remember when you and I talked about when people go on the beach, they don't always remember that there's little animals living there. But we'll talk about it in a moment when we talk about the tide pools. Okay. So first I want to know is, so what is the purpose of the festival?
Well, the festival was started thinking that for monarch season, to wrap up the season, it would be really nice to have another festival. So we have the festival that started in 1980 when the Natural Bridge fell down, and that's in the fall, and that's the Welcome Back Monarchs Day, always the second Sunday in October. And then it just sort of made a nice bookend to have another festival in February towards the tail end of the monarch season to sort of say, okay, let's celebrate the monarchs while they're here and wish them a good journey on their way and their migration. And so that was sort of the bookend of why February. Mm-hmm. And then we sort of shift our focus after the Migration Festival towards the ocean, the edge of the ocean and the tide pools.
For the animals, it's important that when they migrate, it needs to be possible for them to safely go from one place to the next. Is that what you're going to educate people on?
Yes. So making it a safe journey for all the things that migrate is kind of what our theme is this year. There'll be some ideas of in your own garden, how you can bring butterflies to your garden, not just monarchs and other animals, and making it a safe journey for the things that come through our yards.
You mentioned a little while ago that there are some live animals there. You mentioned the newt with the Web of Life or the wolf skull. That sounds really interesting. And what other animals do the organizations bring?
It's really amazing, some of the animals that migrate. You know, a newt, how far does it migrate? Well, not very far. From the pond that it mates in and has grown up in, onto the land and back again as the season changes and it needs to mate again and have its eggs in the water. You have ladybird beetles, which are often known as ladybugs, and in the redwood forest in the wintertime, they're all hunkered together, kind of like the monarchs hanging in the trees, but they're usually under redwood logs or stones, things like that, hanging together so that they can find each other as the season changes and they migrate. So that's kind of fun to see some of them up close. And then we have Dr. Rob Furneaux is going to be coming down with beautiful cases of lots and lots of different species of butterflies. They're no longer alive, but it shows you the diversity of so many butterflies. And that's, I think, what a lot of people have missed in their lives is that we just don't see the number of butterflies we used to. Mm-hmm. And same true with the songbirds. We just don't see the same number of songbirds we used to. And so having people talk about the songbirds, we have people with models, people with parts and pieces like whale bones and things like that, and fur and feathers and just different things that make it more tangible and hands-on for everyone, talking about these different animals that come through.
So for migratory birds, are they bringing some? Did I bring some?
Not migratory birds, but we do have a really special treat, and that is Youth Science Institute has said that they're going to bring a tarantula. And you don't really think of tarantulas as being migratory, but they do. The males go out and they travel distances to try and find the females. Huh. And so in Big Sur, I've seen them. Even in the Sierra Mountains, I've seen them traveling. And so it's, nearby they are in the mountains. Not so much in Natural Bridges, but in our Bay Area there.
Huh. So they bring some, are they dangerous for people to stay away from?
No. They'll tell you all about what's the danger of them and what's not. But tarantulas sort of had a bad reputation that way about like, yikes, be careful of them. But I think that they'll tell us what's dangerous about them and what isn't. Yeah.
And I see that Rancho del Oso is bringing some fish. They actually bring some fish.
So they will be doing some different activities about fish and have some different activities involving fish. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So it's a lot of learning, a lot of sharing, a lot of playing games about things to learn more about them.
I want to remind people who are sitting at their radio or in their car or at the computer that they're listening to Exploring Santa Cruz on KSQD 90.7, 89.5, and 89.7. My name is Matilda Rand, and my guest is Martha Nitzberg. She is an interpreter at the Natural Bridges State Beach. And we just discussed the wonderful Migration Festival, which is coming up on February 10th, the second Saturday of February. And we didn't say yet from what time to what time.
I just realized that when you were saying that. Yeah, it's from 11 o'clock until 4 o'clock.
From 11 to 4 o'clock. Okay, good. And it's mostly on flat areas, so people of all ages can be there. And there's lots of crafts, games, hand painting, talks, skits, songs, and there's a little stage area where a lot of the talks and the skits will take place. Let's talk a little bit about your upcoming training, because you're doing trainings about butterflies, but you have an important one coming up, tide pools, right?
Yes, starting this Saturday. It's a little bit short notice to be talking about it, but there's still time. Maybe you've made a commitment to yourself in this new year that you'd like to have a chance to be with community, or you'd like to be able to talk to more different people, or maybe you'd like to share about animals. Maybe you'd like to learn something new. Maybe you'd like to help us with our tide pools. So in the springtime, we have many people coming out because the tides are at convenient times. And so we have school groups, we have the public, and we have, people that want to come out. And it's an environment that a lot of people know nothing about. It's almost like going to a different planet. You get this place where it's covered with water some of the time, uncovered with water, and these really unusual creatures make their living in very different ways. What I love about it is there's more different phyla in a tide pool than anywhere else on the earth. So it's more different ways to be an animal in our tide pools. So we'll be covering that and some of the stories about different animals and different ways to talk to different ages about the tide pools. And then it's really, really helpful to have people in the community really protecting them. A number of years ago, people in our community came together and said it's such a special place. It should be a marine protected area. And so it was given that status and the law behind it, which means that people aren't to pick up, move, and poke and prod and take anything from our tide pools. And so it's been really special because that means that for the next generations, plural, the animals will be around.
We talked a little bit earlier about the low tide. I always go there with my friend and we walked. And so she said, be careful. You see those white little things? There are animals in there. Don't step on that. And she was telling everybody around her. And there were people just clunk, clunk, they were just crushing.
Oh,
and
yikes.
People don't know. And so if my friend hadn't said, because I know about the anemones and I saw them sitting, there, and they were just so gorgeous and open and everything. But she said a lot of them are closed up. And you don't know that, and people around us didn't know, and of course I had to pay attention too, so I was very tiptoeing through but there were people.
Well, I appreciate your friend because that's what it really takes. It takes our whole community. Even if you aren't part of our volunteer training, it really helps if you are out there and you notice that people are poking the anemones. They live way longer than we do. They live hundreds of years if they're given a chance. Every time they get poked, it means that perhaps it may be a couple days before they can eat again. And so with everybody being a little bit more respectful and a little bit more careful, then these animals, the purpose with the marine protected area is to have an area that people can enjoy and explore and see, but also a place where they can grow up and they can spawn into the ocean, and then all of their young can be deposited in places along the shore where people are allowed to fish or take the animals. Mm-hmm. So I guess you don't call it fishing when you're collecting mussels or other things like that, but it's illegal at natural bridges, but it's a place where more mussels are created and into the ocean that will then be covering the rocks in places where people can collect mussels.
People like collecting mussels. Now, you told me a story that some of your trainees came back to you and said, there's a person there with a bucket. And what was the person doing with the bucket?
Sadly, that's not just one person. I could tell you a number of stories, but oftentimes what happens is it's families that don't really realize, and they mean well, but they're moving all the hermit crabs, and hermit crabs are incredibly territorial. They need to have their own pool to be in, and if they're moved to another, then they have to figure out the pecking order of who is the dominant one to get the next shell. And so it's really, really destructive to them if we put them all together and then just kind of dump them into some pool, someplace. It's really harmful to them. So we want to have people understand that we don't want to move any of the animals. So that's really a helpful thing. Having people out there that are volunteers, explaining to people things like that.
That's why you do the training, to get those volunteers. Yeah. Like my friend, she's not a volunteer with you, but obviously she picked it up somewhere, that help other people understand, like me, that there is a cluster of don't step on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because people would also come and pick the mussels. It's not so much that they're migrating the mussels. Those mussels are going to go home and be eaten. All these animals have their own migration schedule and their own migration path. So like if you say about the hermit crab, they'll decide when it's time to move, right?
Yeah, so some of these animals are very mobile, like you say with the hermit crab or the sea star. They can walk on their own and they can move to where they want to be if they want to move. Some that seem less mobile, like the anemone, can actually move if they need to or want to, but usually they try not to move too much. But like you say, all the spawning of the offspring going out into the ocean.
Obviously, some people who are listening may be now interested in participating in the 5-week training, right? Which starts this Saturday.
Yeah, we'll be going this Saturday through the 17th of February. And one of those days is actually the Migration Festival.
That's
and
right.
so we'll be getting ready and having people help with different tables and different ways of being involved in that event as well.
How can people sign up to be in the training?
Probably the easiest way is there is a form to sign up on the website.
Uh-huh.
So our website is kind of for all state parks, which is parks with a plural, PARKS, .ca.gov. So if you're looking at parks.ca.gov, then you will find all the different state parks, and there's 280 of them, 34 of which are in Santa Cruz County. We also include some of San Mateo Coastal County as part of our district for state parks. So 34 within an hour of us. Pretty amazing.
You go to the website. And
you go to the website and you look up N for Natural Bridges, visit a park, N Natural Bridges, and then on our website you'll find a form that you can fill out, and then I will see your name and we will contact you and proceed from there. If you have to call instead for some reason, it's going to take too long to get on the website, or you can't, or you decide last second, just give us a call, 831-423-0871. And we'll be glad to check in with you and find out your interest. We have people that are helping with our aquarium in the visitor center. We have people that are helping in the visitor center, talking to people about monarchs and tide pools and all the rest of the life. We have 12 different habitats at Natural Bridges. We have volunteers that are working in the gift store and helping people go home with something that they can remember their experience by. We have people that are helping by being out in the tide pools, making the animals safe. And we have people that are helping roving in the tide pools. That's what we call it when you're out there just talking to the general people that are out there.
That's wonderful. If people do want to email you, then they can go to Natural Bridges, all one word, at ports-ca.us. So Natural Bridges at, and then PORTS dash ca.us. So that's another way to contact you. That's wonderful. And so people can sign up to be involved in the training or other volunteer, because it looks like you're doing a lot of different things there.
It's true. As spring comes up, those of you that are passionate about restoration, we have quite a few things that we'll be doing, quite a few days of pulling invasives and perhaps planting some, and we welcome people to be involved that way as well.
Well, we have just a few more moments, a few more minutes. Any final thoughts?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me on, because I really appreciate the chance to get the word out a little farther about this wonderful festival. We have 25 different amazing nonprofit organizations joining us to make this festival really a special one and full of lots of things to do and activities. So I really appreciate all the community being involved on the inside as well as coming to the event. So please spread the word far and wide and let others know. And maybe it's a good reason to have some of your friends that live maybe an hour or two away come and visit you. It's a really fun day. And then we do have some food for sale at that event. And we also welcome you if you want to bring your own picnic.
Of course.
And then for training, we just really love all the people in the community that care and want to get involved in state parks. So we really appreciate anybody that would like to join us and be part of the team.
So that's why I'd like you to come back several times. We had you in the fall for the Monarch Butterfly Festival and now for the Migration Festival and the tide pool training. It's just a wonderful park.
Yeah, Natural Bridges is a little tiny gem. 12 habitats, 1 mile of trail. It's really amazing that there's such variety. And the people that come here really appreciate all of you who want to get involved, because everyone wants to know a little bit more. And when people can share, it makes it a much better experience for everyone. So thank you for having me on.
And thank you for being here. And we will see you soon at the Migration Festival on February 10th, 11 to 4.
Thank you so much. Please come enjoy the park. We really appreciate people coming, and the butterflies are there right now. So do come, even if you can't make it on the 10th. But we hope you can.